Alright, here's a real quick, just a shot of an LT35 tow motor from 1951. In case anybody has one of these and they're trying to figure what all is what. That tire, no. Somebody, if you notice, two different tires. I'm going to get new drive tires yet. I just haven't had time to source them. They're a couple $100 a piece, or well, a couple $100 total actually. Not too bad. I got these tires here, brand new. These are, what are those, 13 by 3.5 by 8. I got them from allforkliftsomething.com. I'll put a link in there at some point. $67. It was crazy how cheap it was. They're usually running $110 a tire. They seem like they're good tires. They're, I haven't driven it around yet, but they're holding up. Greased, of course. Tear everything down, grease the bearings, new grease seals. The number does supersede on them grease seals that hold the bearing grease in there. There is a superseding number. It looks like a whole totally different seal. At some point I'll probably show you the old seals. They're pretty funky the way with some sort of fabric crushed between some things, and from 1951 that's what they had. But you look at it and you go, well, that ain't the right seal. But it's on there and it's going to work. If it pushes a little grease out the back, then you're going to have to clean it. What are you going to do? It'll work fine. The bearings were all fine. The races were fine. Everything was good on it. So slap it back together, put the new grease seal in it, and she'll run. I got some pictures of the grease seals that I put in. Again, this is just what it looks like, some pieces and parts. Again, this here, I built this welded together little dog leg, and that's the original bracket there, and I made that piece there. Had to make that. That's my second iteration of that, actually. Here's my first one. It's actually, I just left it on there to remind me to think twice before you cut once. What I did is I made it so that this alternator can slide all the way out here. It had plenty of room. I was just going to get a bigger belt, and well, that's all well and dandy, except then the alternator bangs into the plate that goes here and the housing that goes here. So it can only be this 38-inch belt to keep it as tight as you can. So I had to redo this bracket. All I had to do was make it again longer here, so the hole came here. So then as the alternator came back up, it didn't climb on itself and hit this area right here. Once I did that, I needed a shim here. Still don't know why actually that needed a shim. I have the original bracket that went here, and these holes are cut exact. Everything's exact. But to get this to line up just so, it's still a little cutty-wampus, but it's fine. It's going to work. I've run it. The belt doesn't slip out or anything, and this is a deep V, so it'll be fine there. But yeah, it was a bit of a challenge. If you really want to get it perfectly straight, I've seen a lot of folks doing it, and they're like, well, that's good enough. But, being the way I am, I wanted it exactly right, and I got it there. It worked. So now we got 12 volts. And yeah, again, that's the old sector, the old steering gearbox. It's a Ross. Yeah, just can't find the sector shaft for it. And now that I got it back on, I can show you why. I ended up finding a whole new steering gearbox with the the worm gear is connected to the shaft here, the whole pole. If you watch, look how that gearbox turns. That's not turning because I didn't tighten everything down. It's bent. And if you look down here real close, you can see somebody brazed something back in here. This is just a tube. The shaft is on the inside, but something went really bad in here. And it bent. When you go to turn this wheel, what happens is, being the shaft is so bent, it moves all back and forth. And I think that's what took out the sector shaft bearings. There's just brass sleeves that the sector shaft goes. The sector shaft is just, it was all ground down. So I think that's what took it out, and I was afraid, even if I did find the parts, that it would start putting stress on everything else. Because when I got it, I was wondering why there was some bolt here and another bolt on the other side. They were loose, and I think and this bolt here was actually loose. I think they left it loose, so when it did this cattywampus thing, that it just wouldn't tear everything up. Which, of course, apparently it worked fine, but not for me. Burns Company in California, they buy all kinds of, like, people go out of business, they buy all their old stock. They actually have these actual steering shafts, the whole assembly, without the steering wheel, but it comes with the nut and everything for the steering wheel, for like $525. It was a great deal, I think, for something that's 69 years old. You're lucky you find it at all. But the sector shaft on this, these Rosses are pretty much the same thing that you're going to find in a Jeep. Some of the certain models of the Jeep. But the bolt holes that line it up aren't the same. And I'm like, well, that doesn't matter. Let me see about the sector shaft. Maybe if I can just get a sector shaft. This sector shaft is odd. It's 1 1/8 thick. I think by 6 and some change long. The sector shafts you see for some of the classic cars and the Jeeps are, I think, 7/8 and maybe 1 inch thick. And it just wouldn't work. So there was no way to find this. I worked, no matter what I did, I couldn't find a sector shaft. And like I say, it really didn't matter. I got lucky, found a whole new shaft, because that's just gonna, there's some torque on there, of course, because the bolts ain't all bolted down. I mean, you can say, sure, that's we got some negative values going on. Well, trust me, I think I got a video somewhere, I'll have to find it, of it just sitting there, and you just turn the wheel when it was off the chuck, and it was the gearbox is just going wah, 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 and it's just bent up. So trying to set it all, and then when you put that bolt in, it's got nowhere for that bend to go. So we'll be good. Well, we got a new part in that. Of course, this build is just getting more expensive by the minute. But in for $1, in for a dime now at this point. So again, I'm just taking some shots here in case anybody wants to know how these things are put together, if they have one. I don't have to tear it all down, because pretty much there isn't much left to take off of this thing, except for that plate, which will be coming off so I can paint it and clean all the crud. They got and this model here somewhere, let's see where to go. Right in there, it's hard to see. You have your model and your serial number, it's embossed in there somewhere. So if you ever come across one of them, you'll see that. And this motor is if you see in there, it's the N62 A60. The thing is, there's supposed to be a motor plate right here. You can see the pins. Either it fell off or someone took it off, but it's gone. So I don't know exactly what motor this is supposed to be. Again, here you'll see the head. It should be an N62 500, I believe. Yeah, can we get in there? Yeah. N62A 500G. And, an extra 0 right there just to confuse you a little bit. It's an odd casting built just for this motor, for tow motor, just as near as I can tell. But yeah, we're going to keep tearing into her. We're going to keep getting her done, and I'll bring you along as we go. Also, I'm looking for, I got to get this cap. And for some strange reason, if you can see it here, right there, it's cracked. I think I'm going to take some solder. I don't think I'm going to braze that. I think I'm going to solder that. I'll clamp it shut down there. And it's cracked on the other side. But these are non-pressurized. The best I can come up with, they're non-pressurized the way this one is. So, you just don't want the fluid to come oozing out. You got to keep it above your radiator neck here in terms of fluid. And I don't know how much expansion you get out of it. It's got an overflow that comes out and pours out the bottom somewhere. But we'll figure it out as we get her running. I think the radiator's okay. I've driven it around. She didn't overheat. It ain't looking happy here. But we'll see. We'll see how far I want to go. I mean, I think I can get this radiator record for a couple $100 at the most. Might end up doing it. I mean, we're going whole hog here now, so we'll have a brand new 1951 LT35. This is actually an LT35 FM. Don't know why. I have the literature. I have the spec sheets from all the models in this year. Nothing says FM. I don't know what FM is. You figure it out and let me know. Alright, till next time. See you later.